We're chopping it up about politics real quick on the pre. This is the pre-show.
Okay.
so,
Okay. Do you
so
guys plan to vote early? I think I'm gonna vote early.
I'm going to vote early.
I may try to vote early, but you already know who I'm gonna vote for. I've been talking about it, so
Ye-
well,
yes. I
well,
think I'm voting for this for that same candidate.
you riding with
I'm
me?
still praying. I'm still praying about it because I'm seriously. I'm not going with the flesh. I'm going with the spirit. Like I'm
Okay,
looking at everything from a different perspective.
You got to vote
So,
your
that's what's up.
conscience. You got to vote your conscience. You got
May
to
the
see. You
spirit,
got to see what
may the
makes sense to you.
spirit drive you to check that Trump box.
it's so bad. No, it's so bad. But that's either him or I'm not voting at all.
Mm, mm.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Here's the thing. Zell was making a great point before you hopped on. So, and Zell, I feel he was basically just saying that he felt like Trump doesn't relate to the common man because he's entitled. And now that's a good point. I wouldn't disagree. But most candidates kind of fall into that. Not most candidates, but a lot of candidates fall into that category.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
what I will say about Trump, and again, this is more for me a broader thing. It's not so much that I love Trump, but I started to take a step back and look at the Democrat versus Republican ideal. And a lot of, so for instance, I like the coalition Trump has around him. So he has the JD Vance, the Vivek Ramaswamy. Elon Musk is a little eccentric, but he's a genius. I can't, you know what I mean? So you know,
So,
and
so is Kanye, right?
so
So
right.
between being a genius and insanity is a sliver.
There's a sliver,
It's a sliver.
but
Right.
he did create Tesla, so it is what it is. And
Right.
he'll be
He's
he'll
sending
be
stuff
living
into
in
space
space.
too, right?
Exactly, he'll be living in Mars in 20 years.
To get away from
So
black folks.
exactly. But the thing is that here's the thing with the thing about the Republicans or even conservatism having a smaller government and not wasting so much money. That is something that appeals to me a little bit because I start to look at the Democratic Party. I kind of look at them and I say, well, if you look at the last 3 years, they've been able to kind of brand themselves as people who relate to the poor and people who care about the poor and minorities. They've been able to kind of brand themselves that way for a long time.
Hmm.
And I agree, there were times in the past that they may have served, I think, black people better. There
Right.
may be times that they did, but I think the world has changed, and I think that when I look at the last 3 years, if I just look at immigration, the
Hmm.
immigration policies have been really bad,
Hmm.
and those immigration policies will probably hurt black people in the long term the
Agreed.
most. You
Agreed.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that's one. So when we know the numbers, like I said, it quadrupled under their administration, and then you start to look at the policies. So you notice Kamala, she wasn't really worried about black men because I think what she thought is that black
Mm.
men would follow behind black women. And
Mm.
now in this late hour, she started getting Barack Obama to talk for her and
Right.
say
Right.
something to black men and try
Yeah.
to get the black men with this forgivable loan and we're gonna decriminalize weed. And I'm like, why are you saying that to black men? That's not what all that black
Hmm.
men care
Hmm.
about.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So true.
so I think that the policies that she's put forward or for economically, we're all worrying about economics, black people,
Right.
white people,
Right.
and everything in between. And I think the policy she put forward, when you take a step back, I'm like, those policies just aren't good economic policies.
Hmm.
Um, the stuff that she put forward, a lot of it has doesn't even begin to touch the economy. She's talking about small business, about a tax credit to small businesses, and a first time home buyers grant because and when you get into it, it's like even with home prices, we have an affordability issue versus an inventory issue.
Hmm.
So
Right now, I feel like that other candidate can't see me, even though the other hit. You want to hear the truth? The truth is he's going to win. Okay,
Okay.
because she may slip by a sliver on a popular vote, but she's not gonna win the
Mm.
electoral college.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm gonna just keep it real. Like keeping it real, I am going to issue my vote probably for her because I think that at least she may be able to understand where I come from more than he can understand where I come from. However, the things that she's saying is lip service, just like what he's saying is lip service. Like for example, this is my big one, right? For women. So she's like, I'm going to make sure that I, repeal, the, what's the Roe versus Wade and
Roe v.
make sure
Wade.
women have the right to choose. Okay, time out. If it's that easy, why won't Biden do it before he gets out of office? Because he's not running again.
Right.
He already
Yeah.
got Alzheimer's, right? He don't remember what
Yeah.
today is. So why don't he go ahead and do it now if it's that easy? Because it's not that easy. It's not that easy to do. It's
You
not.
you know what though too, fam? It's
But
like
Let's
Biden got Alzheimer's. He
So
ain't got no Alzheimer's.
so for
who,
me,
Biden.
Paul don't remember nothing.
He showed on.
Uh, yeah, yeah, he need to. It
Paul
was
can't
time.
remember nothing. Would you let your 80-year come on now? What 80-year-old needs a new job? Other than you barely want them saying hi and bye at Walmart.
Listen, me and Faith was having this conversation a year ago, and I was like, for the presidency, and honestly, this would bump Donald Trump out too. I
What
was like, you have
age
to be
limit?
35. You have to be 35 to be a president. That's the
Mm-hmm.
minimum age,
Mm-hmm.
and you double that. The maximum should be 70. After 70, sit your
You
ass
shouldn't
down.
be that old. It should max out at 60.
No, 60 is kind of young, bro.
No,
Well,
no.
because 60 is kind of the new 50 these
Wait
days.
till
It's
your
not.
ass turns
60 is the
60.
same old
Wait,
60.
nah, wait till you turn 60. You're gonna be like, I ain't that old.
I don't need to be running a whole country at 60.
60 is not.
I got,
You
I
act
got,
like
I
60
got,
is
I
ready
got faith in you can
for,
run a
for
country at
diapers
60.
and
Now,
bingo.
granted, here's the thing, if you get elected at 59, yeah, run your term out. But if you 60 something, you don't need to be trying to get that new job. If you 70, 80, you don't need to be trying to. That's a stressful job.
Nah, bruh, come on. Now 70. Okay, now retirement's supposed to be 65, right?
60.
So people
Well,
like
they
me.
they
Okay.
they trying to push it to 72,
Well, because
67 to
people ain't got
72.
enough money.
They
People ain't got
want to
enough.
keep taxing you. They want to keep taxing
Of course.
you. Yeah.
I would say you take the minimum age, you multiply it by two. Once you get past that age, sit your ass down somewhere.
I don't want
Either,
no 70-year-old to try to get the job either, though. You too old. Stop.
bruh. But look, 70 looks pretty good compared to 86
They don't
right
need
now.
to be running. They don't need to be in office. They don't need to be making no decisions for nothing. Really, they should put a limit, in my opinion, on all of these jobs. You can't be in the Senate your whole life. You can't be in Congress your whole life.
Yeah,
You shouldn't be in the Supreme Court your whole life. There should be limits to all of these jobs
Yeah,
because you need
I
fresh
agree.
new ideas. You need fresh
yeah,
new
I agree.
people. You need new concepts, new ideas, new generations, new people, new thoughts. You need new everything
I
and
agree.
not
Yeah,
the same old people doing the same old things, making the same old decisions, keeping us
all the
stuck where
time.
we are.
Hundred
How do we
percent.
move forward?
I agree with that.
I
thousand
mean,
percent.
but that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
I mean, I
Well,
agree.
this
I agree. I
all of
agree with
y'all
all
need to
that.
just go ahead and vote for Trump and just call it a day, so we can have a
He too old
consensus.
too.
Oh, he's
so for
old too.
me,
Tell him, Fonda.
so
Come on.
I'm totally going from a spiritual aspect.
Okay.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
care about the natural right now
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going from a spiritual aspect. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you guys remember, but like back in the days, like especially like when I was in school, we used to
Mm-hmm.
pray in the schools. We used to pray because I went to performing arts school, so we would pray in schools. We would pray before rehearsal. We would pray before academic classes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember that back in the days, there were like in the hotels they had the Bible in hotels. They would have them
Hmm.
in the drawers. They would have them downstairs and
A
at
lot of them still
concierge.
do.
There was a state, I forgot which state it was. They had banned the Bible from that, and then they like brought it back.
Mm-hmm.
You think God like that? Everything I just said, He don't like that. As far as like in the schools, how the kids They can't say he or she or whatever. Like when I was
Mhm.
young,
It's
we could
ridiculous.
freely say those things. You think God
Yeah.
like those things? No, he don't like those kind of stuff. So this country, like, it's, I don't know if you realize, but it was always more so of a Christian country.
Right.
I don't know if you guys realize that,
Oh yeah, of course.
compared to
Always
other
been a Christian
countries.
country.
That's what they say.
Now,
That's what they say. They was coming to bring Christianity to the heathen Indians
but let me tell you,
as they killed them.
every time, every time you put something in front of God, he's opposed to that. He doesn't like it. So all of these things that's been happening, you think God like it? He don't like it. Now, if we look at the Bible, the children of Israel, the people of God, those are God's people, right? Every time they were so, like, they were so rebellious, but they ended up coming to repentance in different situations throughout the Bible. So there's a particular story of, it's a few stories, but I'm gonna go by one of my favorites. Is a prophet in the Bible by the name of Deborah. She was a prophet and she was a judge. And what happened is that before she came judge, the people of Israel were being oppressed and suppressed because they were serving other gods. They would, like, forget about the Most High God. They were serving other gods. So with God, He loves us so much that He gives us free will, right? So
Hmm.
it's either you want to serve me or you don't. It's okay. I'm not gonna force you to come to me. But if you do, I'm all with loving arms, right?
Hmm.
So they begin to serve other gods. Now they begin to cry out to God. She becomes judge. She finds this thing out. So when they begin to cry out to God, now God is stepping in. He's like, okay, I'm going to fight for you. And you guys are going to continue to serve me. So I say that to say, when you put, when you put, people, when you put gods in front of God, he doesn't like that.
Hmm.
So I feel like Trump, even though you can never really judge somebody by their salvation. So I don't know. I don't think he's, like, saved. He's come to Christ, whatever. But what he's doing is he's actually, the things that he's actually for compared to the other party is more so of God than that part, like
I know
the
I see
beliefs.
what you're saying.
So
Well,
I'm like, and then I did my research on the other person, and then going back and stuff, like back in history and like all the demonic stuff. I'm like, I'm
well, Fonda,
so,
don't hold back. It sounds like what you're trying to say in the short form. And you know
it's
what? But you know what? Here's the thing. The reality is, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. The reality is that attached to Trump, obviously being in the Republican Party, is attached to conservatism, and conservatism is more tied to the religious staples that the country used to have. Now, um, what I'll say is that I think that that appeals to a lot of people, in particularly when you talk about black people too, because as much as we feel like we're part of the liberal party, we're also very conservative people too. So it's a very interesting thing that you're saying. I think that speaking, I'm more spiritual. I'm not super religious, but I'm more spiritual. So, but what I will say is that it seems to me that those some of those principles you find in the party that Trump is part of, quote unquote, some of those principles that you find are a little bit more aligned on that side. And the Democratic Party, what I was talking about with Zell is that I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm saying that some of the things on the Democratic side have gotten really weird, and they've kind of including the things that we may like from a liberal perspective, they kind of grabbed a bunch of other things that we're kind of like, eh, and they kind of like brought it in. So I think it's
mhm.
turned certain people off. So I think as a voter, obviously you can always take the things that you like and disregard what you don't like on
Yeah.
either side. But I think
Absolutely.
what's happened with the Dems is they've grabbed a lot of stuff that we're like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know about tampons in the bathroom and grown men being in the bathroom with my daughter. Uh,
Yes,
there,
that's
there's some weird
dangerous.
things there, you know.
Yes, it's
So it's kind of like,
dangerous.
and
You
that's
think God
before you
like
even
that? You think
That's
God
before
like
you even
that?
talk about policy. That's before we even talk about like regular down the middle policy. There's some weird things that have been brought in, and I'm like, yo, I don't know. I didn't sign up for that. We're supposed to
Listen,
be the
Oh,
party of Barack Obama and
listen. God
the
made
liberals, but
a man, and God made a woman a woman. You think God like that? All this robot stuff happening. Y'all seen that stuff happening? You think God like that?
we talking about AI?
All this robots. You see the walking robots and all that. God made people. Why are they trying to make fake people now? You think God like that? God
That's a
don't like
whole
that.
that's a
what?
The
whole nother
What?
Bible says
conversation.
Okay.
God created the heaven in the beginning. God created the heavens and the
True.
earth. Why are people making fake robots? Next thing you know what's gonna start happening. They're gonna have guns. They're gonna be knocking on door. They're gonna be fighting people. They're gonna be shooting people. It's the robots gonna start getting out of
It's
control.
gonna be
I'm
like
telling you,
Terminator.
they're gonna
Term
be like
robots are
Terminator.
the robots are the new
They
civilization
got the
right
dog. They
now.
got the robot dog. You saw that one?
Mm-hmm.
The
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen
dog?
it.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I mean, technology is another thing, but I think that while look, we all may not agree on everything. I do think that, like I was telling Zell before y'all hopped on, it's an interesting time because I think there's time to step back and kind of look at and re-examine the choices of. I'm not with the gangs, the blood and the crip thing. You know what I'm saying? Democratic, Republican is more like blood crip. I'm just more about let's take a step back and look at who we voting for and all of that. Now, what I will say about Kamala's campaign, in my opinion, her campaign has been disastrous. If you actually go through the whole thing and you start looking at these
Yes.
interviews, it's a disaster, yo. I mean, 60 Minutes, disaster. Oprah Winfrey, disaster. She was on the podcast with what's the two
Charlemagne.
basketball players, all the smoke. Um,
Charlemagne the God.
no, she was the guy, the two ex basketball players. They have a podcast called
Oh,
All the Smoke or something like that. Disaster. Um, the most recent Fox interview she just did 2 days ago.
that was terrible.
Disaster.
That was terrible.
Terrible. Barack Obama talking to black men, telling them that they don't want to vote for her because she's a woman. Disaster. And Barack Obama was like, he's revered and he was revered in the black community. All the black men are like, get your ass out of here. First of all, let me not go into it because I like Barack as a person. But when you, so, the thing about it is that I just say, like, we got to take a step back and kind of look at it. And I know Twin is over there, like, I got a lot of stuff to say about Trump, and I know that you wait.
Wait. One more thing. I have this. Okay. The only thing I feel scared about is that he's still trying to do this dictatorship thing, right?
Donald,
Yeah.
He is.
I think here's the thing. I would say on that point, I think that's just some ish talking. But I always tell people he was already president from 16 to 20. So when you
Do
start
you
getting
actually
state
listen to him
interviews,
talk? That's what I
huh?
wonder. Do you actually listen to what he says? Because a lot of what he says
Well,
is ridiculous,
this is what I would say.
He's
What I would
obnoxious,
say is
but
that
and
the
he
what I
stuff
says a
would
that
say
he
lot of
about
say is
nonsense,
Donald,
and he lies to
what's
get up there
what's
and
good
say
what's
stuff that's
good
not
about
true.
Donald But what's good about Donald is that when you take a step back and you look at the people around him, he does have some good people around him. I mean, say what you want to say about JD Vance. If you look at JD Vance has had a lot of interviews. If you just watch a couple of the interviews he had, even the vice president debate, he's not crazy. He's not saying nothing crazy.
What about the
Have you
people
watched
eating
JD Vance?
dogs? What about the people eating
Huh?
dogs that they can't verify that the people were eating dogs?
they
Well, you know what? Here's
What
the
were.
about
thing.
what
I,
about
I
the
think
people
I
who
think
don't
that
have children, that they don't have a stake in this country? They're less
He didn't. He
valuable.
didn't. So here's the thing. I love that you said that. That right there. He didn't. He didn't say that. What they did is they took that and they made it seem like he's against people who don't have kids. All he said, his actual statement was that if you have kids, you have a strong stance or you have a strong stake in the country. Why? Because it's simple. Your kids are gonna be here. You can't listen. I'm not saying, Fonda, you don't have any kids yet, but let's keep it funky. If you have, we all have kids, right, on the panel, besides Fonda. You have a different perspective if you know your kids will be here, living here as adults in 20 to 25 years. You think differently. If you have no children and you're just like, I'm not saying that they don't have a stake. But if you have no children and you're like, well, you're focused on right
It's easy to
now and
clean
what.
stuff up after the fact, though.
No, he didn't. But here's the thing: I'm saying that they took it out of context. It's not that he said that people who have no kids. And see, what you have to do now. This is what I challenge. You have to go back and just listen to the statement, not what MSNBC and all the liberal channels tell you, because they try to spin stuff and tell you in a different context. If you listen to what he never said that.
So the stuff that Donald Trump has said about
What's
women.
that?
So it's all the stuff that degrading things that Donald Trump, out of his own mouth, said about blacks, Jews, Mexicans, and women.
But
Hold on,
what
long before he even became president. Okay, interviews, stuff that was published a long time ago that resurfaced when he started running for president. So you mean to tell
right?
me all that was taken out of context?
No, I didn't say that. I said JD Vance. But here's the thing,
No,
and
but
I
I'm
told you
saying
that.
though, it's like, but this is my issue with a lot of these conservatives, is that it's not the fact that you have conservative views, because I have some conservative views, I have some liberal views. It's the fact that people are so willing to crucify Dems for everything they say, yet they will not take anyone on the Republican side to task for the shit that they say. Everything that the Republicans said, that was taken out of context. That was taken out of context. Oh, well, that's not what they meant. That's not what they meant. It's like, stop acting like Donald Trump is not racist. Stop acting like he's not sexist. Stop acting like he's not misogynistic. Stop acting like he hasn't said stuff about Jews, about blacks, about Mexicans, about all kind of people.
I
Forget
don't
the fact.
understand. But what did
My,
he say about what did he say about Jews and Mexicans? I don't understand.
First of all, Jews,
Like, have you seen it?
Jews are running everything. You can't trust them. He said this out of his own mouth. He said you can't trust the blacks. That's why he didn't want to put them on his gaming tables. You can't trust them. They're not good with that. Those were his exact words.
Did you hear it?
Yes, I listened to it. This was a long. He said this shit a long
Talking
time
about when
ago.
he had that show?
No, this was some
When he had the
recordings and
casino.
stuff to interviews that were made long time ago when he was owning all those
Right.
casinos. This was
Right.
long before he even ever ran for president. So
Mm-hmm.
this isn't, it's not fake news. It's not made up.
No, I
He
understand.
said it out of his own mouth. Talking
Mm-hmm.
talking about women, talking about, you could just grab their pussies and you could do whatever
Mm-hmm.
you want with
That
them.
part.
Really?
I've heard that.
Really? That,
Well, you know what?
That ain't out of
This is what I would
context.
say.
that's not out of
No. You
context.
know what? This is what I
Exactly.
would say. I totally agree with you. So being someone who's going to vote for Trump, right? You're right. I like the fact that people say that, because it's like, I'm not going to sit up here and pretend. Because again, for me, it's not about Trump being perfect, and I do realize that. Here, let me tell you, because we're going to talk about slavery in a minute, because that's the whole topic. But
I thought we was talking about marriage.
no, you late. That was last week. that
Oh.
was last week.
Oh.
We gonna talk about marriage again, but this is a different topic tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But so, for instance, when it comes to racism, right? I honestly believe that as black people, we should probably not even bank on whoever our leaders are as far as presidency to be racist or not racist. The reason why I say that, I take that out of the equation, is because, you know, respectfully, I don't know Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, George Bush, all these people. You really don't know who's racist until you marry one of their kids. You know what I'm saying? Or you move next door to them. You really don't know when it comes to someone whether they're really racist. Now, Donald Trump is giving you words for you to say, yo, he's racist. I get it. I'm not denying it. But I think the choice is that, do you vote for someone who may have been racist and one, maybe people do change. So do you vote for someone who you think is racist, or you vote for somebody who's supposed to be black, right? She's supposed to be black. Now that's another story, but she's literally said out of her mouth, I'm not going to do nothing for black, for just for black people. No, she said that literally. Literally, she said that. So, you know, and I'm not saying she should do
That
something
makes
for black
sense. She
people.
should.
Huh?
Why should she do stuff that's just for black people? She meant
Well,
why she's gonna do stuff for everybody.
Sure, I understand, but then at the same time, now now she's introduced these ridiculous things for black men now. Supposedly, I'm going to give I'm going to give a forgivable up to $20,000 loan for black men, and I'm going to decriminalize marijuana because that's what y'all care about. And so she
That's
puts
not
forth
even a
these
lot of
things.
money. $20,000. Woo.
It's not even gonna happen because it ain't gonna get through Congress. But she's introduced
That's
these
kind of
things for
ridiculous, honestly.
specifically for black men. Why? Because she's like, I need y'all vote. So my I say all that to say this. Either you voting for somebody who you feel like might be racist or is racist, or you vote for
Who has a
somebody
long
who
history, a
claims,
long proven history of racism.
or you vote for somebody who
Him and his daddy.
That's terrible. I'm sorry. The $20,000, like they done gave the migrants so much money.
we was just
You
talking
want
about
to
that.
give
Yeah.
the black men $20,000? Like they
They're
supposed
not
to be
even gonna
That's
get. They ain't
desperate?
even
ridiculous.
gonna get
They
there because
supposed
it
to be
ain't gonna. It ain't
desperate.
gonna even pass in the law. But you also have somebody who on Kamala for Kamala. Here's the thing. I would love to. I would have loved to go for a Kamala. If two things that were missing for me from her, authenticity. So if she actually brought forth some policies that actually were going to be good, and then she just was honest about herself. Here's someone who's been part of an administration where the immigration quadrupled. The guy was 60. Look, she faced no real. She had like two real interviews. The two most real interviews were 60 Minutes and the guy on Fox. They asked her the most basic questions. You know, immigration quadrupled under your administration. Do you regret any of it? No, no. I'm just going to go back and talk about Donald Trump again. But you're in power. When you're in power, if illegal immigration quadruples, you have to take responsibility. And then they've been
I
asking her
agree.
the whole time
That's been a total
and this
disaster. I mean,
this run. They said, "Yo, what's different between you and Joe Biden?" Oh, obviously we're not the same human being. Yeah, we know you're not the same human being. We get that.
But what are
But
you gonna do that's so different from what he
but
did?
what's different? Nothing. There's nothing different. She wasn't able to answer that. So I
Let
don't think she's a good choice.
okay. Let me ask you this: Donald Trump has already been president.
Yeah.
During his term, do you feel like your life was better? Was the impact of your life better with him being president
Yeah.
than with him not being president? For me, as a
Yeah.
black man with black children, I felt the climate, the racial climate was so high when he was in office.
it was
I
hot.
don't know if me or my kids can live through another 4 years of that. Like the climate was just so high. White folks that were truly racist were so emboldened,
I've
empowered.
been
It was
there.
like, yo, our guy is in office. We can say anything we want to say, do whatever we want to do. Not that racism doesn't happen during the time that Democrats are in office, because it does. Racism has been a historic systemic problem in this country since its inception. But I felt like it was worse during
It
Donald
was.
Trump's reign. And I
It
feel
was.
like if we go back to that, it'll be that same racial climate again, which it wasn't a good feeling for me. Wasn't a good like I was so concerned about my black children walking outside, being out and about. It was just a concern for me. Concern for myself, concern for our women. Just concern in general because of the climate. The racial climate was just so high.
And he
As you
didn't do
said,
anything.
you can't determine whether a person is a racist. However, the people that follow them, the good old boys, like all these other folks that's feeling like, yo, like this is our guy, and he says, like from the things that he says, I feel like I can do whatever I want to do, say anything I want to say, be any kind of way I want to be, even though again, there's racists and we've had deaths from all these black men and racist policies put against black folks since the dawn of time, slave codes, Jim Crow, like black, like red line and on and on, right?
Right.
Nothing new, but it's like the climate for me was so toxic.
I feel you.
It
So
was very, very toxic.
and
Well,
that
you know what
and he was president already before, so I felt that under his administration.
well, from 2016 to 2020, and again, I respect that because I didn't feel that at all, but it all depends on where you live and the where you live. Everybody's experience is different. I didn't
Hmm.
feel that from 2016 to 2020, but I do think economically things were better, and I do think that he kept the world at bay in certain areas. There's certain ways he's able to talk to certain leaders and let them know certain things. So domestically and international, I feel like things were better, and I think that you know were there white people probably emboldened during that time? Sure, but I don't
There
know
was a
if there's
lot of
any.
white people
I
emboldened
don't
during
know if
that
there was
time.
any when
The
it comes to
climate
black, but
that
when it comes to like actual any like hate crimes or anything against black people, I mean, there was just nothing there. You know what I'm saying during his presidency.
yes,
I
there
mean,
was. Yes, there
hate
was.
crimes against black people.
Hate crimes, period.
No,
There
no,
was
I'm
a
talking about against
lot of
black
hate
people.
crimes. There was a lot of hate crimes. And the climate did change a lot. When I was working at Verizon, the whole mood during his presidency changed, and you could almost cut the tension with a knife. The people that felt that Trump was, and every a lot of things changed, and a lot of people did become emboldened by the fact that, oh, Trump is so in your face. Oh, he says what everybody's thinking. They felt that they could, I guess, take their hoods off and
Hmm.
say what they wanted to say, and it made a lot of people feel very uncomfortable. So that time was different. I noticed there was a difference in how people interacted, even at the grocery store. It was different during that time, and I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't have kids then, but I didn't have kids until 2018. But during that time, even when as immigration was starting to change, and there was just there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of anxiety, um, and he didn't. My issue with it was that he didn't do anything to try to curb that or bring that down. He didn't do anything to try to show any decorum, any professionalism. It just, when you see these white supremacists claiming you as their leader,
Hmm.
and you're not doing anything to try to even condemn the shit that they're doing, to me that speaks volumes. It really speaks volumes. Now, economically, might things have been a little bit better on a certain level? Sure, but there's so much more to being president than economical growth. When okay, if things grow on one level but decline sharply on another level, how much better off are we really? You know?
Well, that's a good question, though. I think that's a good question, and I'm listening to you, and I'm like, and I'm listening to Zell. Y'all live in two different places, have two different experiences, and I didn't
Yeah,
feel
because
any
me,
of that. Did you feel any of
I
that,
saw
Barbara?
like, I do understand what you two are talking about as far as like how the racism, kind of people were kind of getting bold, but I didn't see it in my area as well. And as far as what you said, like economically, I did see like it was better for me. And what I do think is that for him, he's almost got shot like twice. So I think now, this is just my opinion. He may just
Oh,
kind of think
I feel like I think
more
you set that up.
of
I'm one of them conspiracy theorists. I
how
think
to
you set that up.
say what to say when he gets up there. Because even in the debate, if you noticed, he was less obnoxious. Speaking, he
Yeah,
was a little bit more serious. So I think like now
yeah.
with his experience, like almost getting shot twice, he probably is gonna try to do his best to try to think
He didn't
before he
almost
actually
get
speaks.
shot twice. That kid was a patsy. I don't care what anybody says. That kid was a patsy. There's no way this 20-year-old nerd was able to get on top of a roof and outsmart the Secret Service. That's
No,
ridiculous.
it's not. It's not
That's
ridiculous
utterly
though. I
ridiculous. Yes,
mean,
it is.
But
Yes, it
okay,
is.
so well, you got to go back in history. So, what's his name? His name was John Hinckley. He shot at President Reagan, almost killed President
Hmm.
Reagan, shot him in the chest,
Yeah,
almost or in the arm or whatever. He almost killed President Reagan,
the
and he
'80s.
got bit,
That was
huh?
that was a long time ago. We're talking about modern technology, modern
No,
security.
no,
Okay.
it's just security. The reality is that I think Secret Service can be slipping. They do slip, and it's possible. Now, I
That
don't think
20 year
I
old
don't think it
that
was
little
a
boy didn't that little boy was a patsy. I don't care what nobody say. He was a
patsy for
patsy.
what though?
He was a sacrificial lamb for whoever Trump's team got to
Oh, come on,
to
Slim.
set up that to
You
set
got
that up.
nah.
I don't
I
believe
mean
it. I don't,
that's to me it's like you to me it gets to the point where you got to say okay, you Donald Trump is so he so that so the so you're saying that it was set up so he can get more popularity to
I
hmm
almost
think it
get
was
shot in the
staged as
foot?
well.
I think it was staged.
Huh?
I think it was staged.
The whole thing is ridiculous. There's too many things that just don't
I think
add
it was
up.
staged.
Y'all are sniffing glue.
No, I
No,
think it
you
was
sniffing
staged.
glue. There's too many things that just don't add up. It don't add up. It just from the beginning, the whole thing just sounded ridiculous. You mean to tell
I
me
think
somebody got
God.
that close? Somebody behind him got killed, but he basically gets a little band-aid on his
No.
ear.
Somebody sitting right behind him did not get. It wasn't the person sitting behind him. It was somebody that was close, but they weren't sitting behind him. And he got. That's why I'm saying like even that alone, that would tell you that it's not staged. That family, that father was trying to guard his family and got his head blown off.
I
Right.
still
So
He
think it
was a
was staged.
sacrificial lamb.
huh?
He was another sacrificial lamb in this
Really?
whole plot. Yeah, he
I
was a
agree.
sacrificial lamb.
I'm with you, yeah.
He was a sacrificial
Oh,
lamb. There's no way.
Fonda, what are we
There's
gonna do
no
with these
way
two?
I
this
just no.
20
I
year
just
old
honestly think
nerd
that
set this whole thing up and he gets killed.
I
No.
just believe that God don't. He don't agree with anything that Kamala is doing because nothing about God is being glorified. If you would compare the two
What is
parties,
Trump doing that's glorifying
nothing,
God though?
nothing that Kamala stand for is being God is being
We,
glorified.
you know what?
Okay,
He's sleeping with porn stars. That's what
We go.
he's sleeping with porn stars. God don't
because
like
let me
that.
tell you something. Let me tell you
God
something
don't like
about
that.
God.
Wait a minute.
Let me tell you something
God
about
don't like
God.
that
It don't
either.
matter
Let,
who. Let me tell you
let's
something about God. It don't matter who it is in the world. God will use anybody that He want to use just to get people's attention. He'll use anybody He wants to use just so that He will get His glory.
Well, Trump
Well, you know
ain't
what? Here's
glorifying
the
God
thing.
Trump,
in
I
any
don't think
way.
See,
Trump bringing nobody glory.
I think everybody's
He ain't bringing
point
no
of
glory
view
to
is
nobody.
good.
No,
Let's
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that
let's
God will use anybody that He want to use so that
That's
God can get His glory. Not that Trump is getting any glory, but God will use whoever He want to use, just so that people can get pay attention to Him. That's how I see things.
well, all right. So we gonna go into the subject because
We
It's
we
all
we can
gotta
spiritual
we
for
can
me.
all
I know
respectfully
I'm a
agree to
whole
disagree.
preacher. I'm a preacher for the Lord. Like I'm looking things
no.
from a whole.
We all agree. What's dope about it is that we all agree in our own
Yeah,
perspective. I
we can
think
agree to
I think
disagree.
we agree to disagree in certain areas, but you know what? Again, that's why I don't like living in an echo chamber because it ain't no fun when everybody is just like, yeah, I agree with everything you
yeah,
say. Like I
yeah.
love when everybody's kind of like now LaFonda, she's straight spiritual. Her perspective is straight spiritual. She's coming from a religious and
And
spiritual.
not the
She's coming from a
flesh.
different
Not
place.
how a person look, not because the person is black, not because the person is woman. I'm looking because I'm thinking about God. That's
And then me and Zell kind of riding together, and then he diverted and went off on the road with my sister somewhere. So
No, no, I already told you. I already told you. No, no, absolutely not. I told
we was
you that I wasn't riding with him, but I told you he's going to win though. Like
well
the truth of the
you
matter, he's
you
going to win.
we I thought we was in the car together, and you just
No,
we stopped at a light, and you just got in the car with my sister and drove off. I was like,
no, I absolutely don't agree with 100% of everything that the Democrats are doing. No, no way.
I
No
feel
way.
you.
Because again, as we discussed, we're not monolithic. You can't take a
Yeah,
broad paintbrush and draw these broad strokes and say, all black people are going to like this. No,
right,
you can't.
so who
right.
you gonna vote for?
I'm going to rock with Kamala. I'm going to rock with
Okay.
Kamala. I am. I'm
Come
gonna vote
Why?
on,
early,
don't do it.
and I'm gonna
How
rock
Don't
with
do
her.
come?
it.
How
But
come?
I don't think she gonna win.
Come
But
on,
how
Zach, don't
come?
do it.
I don't
How
think she
Don't
gonna
come?
win.
do it.
But how come? Give a
She's
main
not.
reason why.
Okay, here's the thing. I think that the previous time, the previous term that Trump had, he was not equipped to be president. He was not. He had no experience. He hadn't been the mayor of nothing. He wasn't like he had his own company, but he wasn't an elected official. And it takes a lot to be an elected official. You had Hillary Clinton, which I know, Playboy shot. I know how you felt about Hillary, but I think she was so qualified. She was
Nah,
ready. She was ready
yeah,
for the seat. She was,
yeah,
because not only was she in she was the first lady for 2 terms. She was a
yeah.
senator. She had all of this
What's
political
wrong with
experience,
Hillary?
right? She was ready.
Nah, I'm just joking. I'm
She
just
won
joking.
the
Hillary.
political
I
vote.
mean,
I
she
mean,
needs some
she
better
won
skin
the
cream, but I
yeah,
mean
she
that's a
won the
whole different.
popular vote, but she lost the electoral college. So I
Yeah,
feel that the same thing may happen this time. That she might win the popular vote. If she does, it'll be by a
if
sliver.
she does,
But
if she
she's not
does,
gonna win the electoral college.
it's getting
So
spooky out here. I'll tell you right now, it's getting spooky. It's getting
that
real spooky.
that's what I'm
So
that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling. But remember, before Trump got in office, we had 8 years of Barack Obama. Like, I was able to hold my head up high, like, man, look at that. That man look like me doing what like
It was nice, but when I heard the history of stuff that went on, it was demonic.